In a small town called Westwood in the heart of Kansas, there stood an old church, St. Mary's Chapel. The church was led by Father Joseph, a man known for his humility and devotion. He had spent his entire life serving God and helping the people of his town. But his life took a dark turn when his younger sister, Maria, met a mysterious and untimely death. Maria was a lively, cheerful girl who spent her days singing hymns at the church and aiding the poor. Her presence brought warmth to everyone she met. But one fateful night, Maria vanished without a trace. The entire town searched for her, but she was nowhere to be found. The next morning, her lifeless body was discovered in the dense woods behind the church. Her eyes were wide open, frozen in an expression of terror, as though she'd seen something unspeakably horrifying. Her death left the town in shock. The coroner's report provided no conclusive cause of death. While the townsfolk eventually moved on, dismissing it as a tragedy beyond human understanding, Father Joseph couldn't accept it. The fear etched on Maria's face haunted him every night. Joseph began questioning his faith. If God is all-powerful and merciful, why didn't he protect Maria? His prayers grew bitter, his devotion soured by resentment. The man who once led prayers now found himself filled with anger and doubt. One stormy night, Joseph sat in the dark confines of his room, clutching a bottle of kerosene and a box of matches. The thought echoed in his mind. If God won't answer me, I will destroy his house. As Joseph crept out of the rectory, the wind howled through the empty streets. Just as he approached the back door of the church, a faint whisper reached his ears. Joseph, don't. He froze, his breath caught in his throat. The voice was soft yet chilling, like a breath of wind laced with menace. He glanced around, but there was no one there. Shaking his head, he muttered, "It's just my imagination." But as he stepped closer, the faint sound of singing drifted out from the church. He recognized it instantly. It was Maria's voice. The melody was one she used to hum during evening services. His heart pounded as he pushed the church door open. It creaked loudly, revealing an empty, dimly lit sanctuary. Strangely, the candles he had snuffed out earlier were flickering brightly. How are they burning again? He thought. Suddenly, Maria's laughter echoed through the church, but it wasn't her usual sweet laughter. It was distorted, unnatural. "Joseph, why didn't you save me?" the voice said, now filled with sorrow and accusation. Joseph's anger surged. He shouted into the empty church, "It wasn't my fault. It was his. God took you from me, Maria." He uncorked the kerosene bottle, his hands trembling with fury. If he couldn't save you, then he doesn't deserve this place. But as he tipped the bottle, the walls of the church began to shimmer. Strange, fiery symbols appeared, glowing blood red. A low, rumbling noise filled the air, followed by a deafening crash. "Joseph!" A deep, guttural voice boomed. Joseph turned to see a shadowy figure materializing near the altar. Its eyes burned red, and its form seemed to ripple like smoke. "Who are you?" Joseph demanded, his voice shaking. The figure laughed, a sound that resonated with pure malice. "I am your anger, your hatred, your despair. I am the darkness you called upon." Suddenly, Maria's voice cried out from behind the figure. "Joseph, stop! This is the same darkness that killed me." Joseph hesitated. "No, you're lying. God let you die. He deserves to burn for it." The shadow moved closer, its presence suffocating. "Yes, Joseph, burn it. Burn it all. Show him your wrath." Joseph raised the match, ready to strike it, but the church floor cracked open beneath him. A deep chasm appeared, and from it emanated the sounds of screams, countless voices crying out in agony. He stumbled backward, only to see Maria's spirit standing on the altar. Her eyes were filled with sorrow, Brother, please, don't let this darkness consume you. It's the same evil that took me. If you light that fire, it will take you too. For a moment, Joseph faltered, but the shadow loomed larger, its voice thundering. Do it! Show him your power! God cannot save you now. The church trembled violently. The walls seemed to bleed, and the air grew thick with an unholy energy. Joseph dropped to his knees, clutching his head. God, if you're there, help me. A sudden burst of golden light filled the church, blinding both Joseph and the shadow. The figure screamed, writhing as the light grew brighter. From the radiance, a divine figure emerged, a vision of grace and strength. Joseph, the figure spoke, its voice calm yet powerful. Your anger has blinded you, but your faith can still save you. The shadow shrieked, No! He belongs to me. His hatred fuels me. But the divine light began to overwhelm the darkness. Maria's spirit smiled softly. Brother, trust him. Let go of your pain. Joseph broke down in tears. I'm sorry, Maria. I'm so sorry for everything. I couldn't save you, but I won't let this evil win. He clasped his hands together and prayed, his words raw and heartfelt. The light around him intensified, banishing the shadowy figure, which let out one final, blood-curdling scream before vanishing. The church fell silent. The fiery symbols faded, the walls repaired themselves, and the air grew warm and serene. Maria's spirit appeared before Joseph one last time. Her face was peaceful, her eyes filled with love. You freed me, brother, and you freed yourself. Goodbye. As her spirit ascended into the light, Joseph whispered, Goodbye, Maria. Rest in peace. The church remained standing, a testament to faith's triumph over despair. And Father Joseph, now a humbled man, returned to his duties with renewed devotion, vowing to honor Maria's memory and the God who had shown him the path to redemption. The old church of Westwood would never be the same, but it stood as a beacon of hope, proving that even in the darkest times, light could prevail.